Imagine Iran in 1988, emerging from a devastating war with Iraq, where chemical attacks left scars and a sense of uncertainty. Iranian leaders decided that never again would they be so vulnerable. So, in the late 80s and into the 90s, they quietly restarted a nuclear energy program that had begun under the previous Shah. The energy program now had a military objective. It started small, acquiring basic tech from Pakistan's AQ Khan network, building reactors like Bushehr with Russian help. But the real push came in secret, constructing underground facilities to enrich uranium, the key fuel that, if purified enough, could produce nuclear warheads. By the mid-1990s, sites like Natanz began spinning centrifuges, machines that separate uranium isotopes. Enrichment levels crept up from the low 3 to 5% for power plants towards a medium 20%, which is a major stepping stone towards weapons-grade 90%. Each advance was built systematically. Master low enrichment first, and then scale machines from hundreds to thousands. In 2002, Natanz and heavy water plant Arak were exposed, prompting inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog. IAEA reports flagged undeclared activities like experiments with plutonium, another bomb path. Iran paused some work in 2003 amid Iraq invasion fears, but resumed, hitting 20% by 2010 under President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He vehemently denied weapons intent, arguing aggressively in the UN for nuclear rights. This progression alarmed the US and Israel and the surrounding Arab nations. Picture Bush in 2002, labeling Iran as part of the axis of evil, seeing its program as a threat to supply nukes to terrorists. Sanctions intensified, but a 2007 US National Intelligence estimate assessed Iran had halted direct weapons design in 2003, though admittedly, enrichment continued, keeping the warhead option open. Israel, closer to the fire, viewed it existentially. A nuclear Iran could embolden proxies or even strike directly. Prime ministers like Netanyahu pushed for preemptive attacks, drawing red lines at UN speeches. Meanwhile, Iran's alliances deepened with China and Russia. They supplied reactor parts and shielded Iran from harsh UN penalties at the UN Security Council. Relations with Sunni extremists like Taliban and Al-Qaeda were rocky, and Iran even fought against the Taliban in the 1990s and aided the US post-9/11 invasion of Afghanistan, but later sheltered some Al-Qaeda operatives as bargaining chips amid the mutual distrust. US responses included shadow wars, drone strikes on terrorist leaders like Hezbollah's Imad Mughniya in 2008, the cyber sabotage via the Stuxnet virus in 2010, which wrecked Natanz centrifuges. Ties with Arab nations soured over the ancient Sunni-Shia schism. It traces all the way back to 632 AD, after the Prophet Muhammad's death. Sunnis favored electing leaders like Abu Bakr, and the Shia, however, insisted on bloodline successors, starting with Muhammad's cousin Ali. Over the centuries, this bred doctrinal rifts. Sunnis emphasized community, while the Shia revere their imams as infallible. So politically, Iran backed Shia minorities in Sunni-ruled states like Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, inciting insurrections. In Yemen, Iran armed Shia Houthis against the Sunni government, and in Syria they propped up the Assad regime. So these proxy forces let Iran extend influence rather cheaply, funded via illicit oil sales. They could embed Quds commanders and supply arms by sea or air, turning local grievances into regional power plays. Iran funded Hamas via tunnels in Gaza, providing guns, rockets, and training, logistically shipping parts and laundering funds through banks and even charities. Oil money evading sanctions via ghost tankers provided $100 million yearly to Hamas, plus $700 million to Hezbollah. This decade wove nuclear ambitions with their proxy webs. Though sanctions isolated Iran, it kept amplifying its disruptive reach. But the 2010s brought some diplomatic twists. Under Obama, secret US-Iranian talks led to the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA. In exchange for unfreezing assets, pallets of cash, and lifting sanctions, Iran was to cap its centrifuges, reduce stockpiles, limiting enrichment to 3.67%, and allow IAEA inspections. The deal was undoubtedly influenced by the hostages like Jason Rezaian in what was part of a broader prisoner swap. Obama's approach emphasized diplomacy to curb nukes without war. Contrast that with the Trump administration.
I haven't done it yet. I may do it. If this doesn't work out, probably I will do it. I would almost say definitely.
In 2018, he withdrew from the JCPOA, deeming it as flawed and weak. He imposed maximum pressure sanctions, crippling Iran's economy. Escalations peaked in January 2020 with a drone strike that killed IRGC head Qasem Soleimani, as retaliation for previous proxy attacks that killed U.S. forces in Iraq. Trump aimed to force renegotiation through targeted attacks and isolation, differing sharply from Obama's deal-making. In summary, via the IRGC and proxies, estimates point to between 25 and 40,000 terrorist attacks/operations since the 1979 revolution, with 80% of those occurring after the turn of the century. Iran's nuclear energy program from the 50s has now been revived, twisting into weapons development. To top it off, the Middle East is in chaos amidst the U.S. invasions in Iraq and Afghanistan. Our stage is once again set for conflict.